Yo, Eric, we're over here on the paranormal hunt, and I headed over to this other building, and it's number 13. I was just telling Ron, my God.
Well, everybody, welcome to a Friday. It's Friday, the end of the week. It's awesome. It's a fun week. I love every show that's been done this week. Anthony had a great show.
Thank you.
On Wednesday. I'm forgetting today's Friday again. Of course, Ron had a fantastic show on Wednesday night. He's got one today, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time. But guys, for now, we're talking about 10 famous paranormal hoaxes, according to the media. These aren't the hoaxes that we're saying they're hoaxes. These are what the media are saying. So just a little disclaimer. All because we're talking about these 10, I want you guys to remember in the chat or who's ever watching this, we are not saying these are automatically hoaxes, because at the end of the day, it's up to you on what you think it's a hoax. But I want to see why this article thinks it's a hoax. Are they saying something different that we don't know? Or some of these stories that we might never even heard of? And maybe some of these stories might encourage you to investigate yourself into some of this stuff. And the article, actually, I'm going to put the this article in the chat. So if any one of you people who are watching this want to follow along with this article, there you go. You can have it. You can pop it up yourself, put it on the side screen, listen to us wonderful voices here, and look at this chart. So let me pull this up for a second. And I got a few videos for some of these. I can't, of course, not all of them, because 10 videos, we'll be here all day. Okay, so it's called 10 Famous Paranormal Hoaxes. Okay, so in the immortal words of Homer Simpson, Homer, you guys know Homer, of course. It takes two to lie, one to lie, and one to listen. So people lie, but when you lie, I like what it says. It takes somebody to listen to that lie. Some of the greatest hoaxes in the history of the world started out as a small lie. If no one believed the lie, then it would have fizzled out. But great hoaxes require great numbers of gullible people willing to suspend disbelief in the fact of the inexplicable. Now, you guys heard lately on a lot of shows, Anthony's show, my show, on Ron's show and stuff, that, you know, some stories do start out small. And then sometimes what happens is, I don't know where these small stories start to get traction for some reason. Mm-hmm. Some people, who knows why YouTube picks up that rhythm, or TikTok or whatever, and it starts pushing it out. And then what happens is, when some people see that little story, maybe the little story is you heard a couple knocks. You heard 2 knocks. But some people, hey, that might be a ghost. And then that person like, you know what, that might be a ghost. And sometimes story starts to grow. It is one big, huge lie. Or, on the other end, some people say that these stories aren't a lie, that the media is just making it up because they don't want you to look further into it. Some people say the governments are behind causing some of these things to say they're hoaxes, but they're not. You know, we really don't know. That's why we have this conversation. We try to take our own opinions, Anthony's opinions, Ron's opinion, you great people are watching this now, your opinions, right? Because I feel like we're going to find the truth through the truth for hoaxes, no hoaxes, within us, not the media. But for fun, guys, let's see number 10 of what the media says that they claim is the 10th most biggest hoax. the Fox sisters. Okay? The Fox sisters. Now, I know a lot of people probably never heard of the Fox sisters. So I actually went out and found a video about the Fox sisters, kind of explain about the Fox sister. And I'm trying the thing that was recommended to take the video and put it like in a TV form. And of course, I was told by somebody that make sure most of your videos are under 4 minutes because you really start to push where the video can get suspended, especially after 4 minutes.
I've had them kill me like 2 minutes in.
Yeah, that's not guaranteed because some videos are copyrighted from the beginning. But if you find the video that's technically not copyrighted from the beginning, some of those allow you to watch it. So if it's suspended, we're not going anywhere. But let's try this out. So this is the Fox sisters.
To create that emotional community.
Here we go.
That community that you create, that emotional community you create, is what spiritualists were hoping to create in the 1850s. And the surest form of this emotional connection is the dead. And that the dead have reclaimed a way of communicating with the living.
And really within modern spiritualism, pivotal point of this was two children were able to create communication between two worlds. The story of the Fox sisters, it really is a roller coaster ride of humanity, spirituality, and tragedy.
Modern spiritualism began in a small town in upstate New York. Members of the local historical society often tell the tale.
Hello, my name is Kate, and here beside me is my sister Maggie. We are the famous Fox sisters who have been credited with being the founders of the modern spiritualist movement in the United States.
You guys hear that? The Fox sisters are supposed to be credited for the first, whatever you call it, I don't know, yoga, whatever they call it, meditating, I don't know, whatever you want to say. The Fox sisters, according to this story, they've been credited for that movement.
The spirits of this lovely local cemetery graciously invited us here to tell our story.
We moved to Hyattsville, New York with our parents, John and Margaret Fox, in December of 1847. I was 14 and Kate was 11.
These two young girls reported hearing strange raps in the house that their family had rented.
These raps seem to be utterly mysterious in nature. John and his wife Margaret have no idea where these noises are coming from. They haven't any idea what to make of them. They're terrifying, in effect. They're afraid, perhaps, that they're diabolical. They just don't know anything about them.
Okay. Oh, wow, I heard an echo. We'll take this off. Is it echo going?
I don't hear an echo.
I hear an echo.
Yeah, it's weird.
Sometimes you bring your mic too close and you get it, Eric.
Let me mute myself.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see. Hello? Nope. Oh, that is. Wow, that's weird. Hello? Can you guys hear me now?
Better.
Better? Okay. That's weird.
Do you have your gain turned up high?
I don't know. What about now? No.
That's an echo.
That says gain.
That's an echo. Bad echo.
The knob right here that says gain, is it high on yours?
Let me just do this.
On your knob, you should have it at
How about now?
maybe 10 o'clock the most.
See, I turned it off, and I still hear it.
Something's picking you up, that means. Do you have a webcam mic on?
No.
Aren't you using a second camera? Is the mic on the second camera on?
Because that's what always happens to me.
Right.
My webcam ends up picking it up.
That's weird. Let me see here. That is. Why is it doing? It only started when I played that video.
Now you said, wait, talk again?
It only did that when I played that video. How about now? Here, what I'm gonna do is
maybe go out and come back in, Eric.
yeah, I'm gonna do that. Let's see. Anything?
Are you playing by sharing screen or are you sharing tab?
I was doing present video file.
Oh, a video file.
Yeah, I don't hear it now.
I don't hear it now either.
Present video file.
Sounds okay now.
Okay. Well, that's just
I just
weird.
heard it come out of your speaker though, right?
It just I don't know. But
All right.
So well, here we go. So on the night of March 31st, 1848, April Fool's Eve, 14-year-old Maggie Fox and her 11-year-old sister Kate reported a recurring mysterious phenomenon in their bedroom. Every night as two went to sleep, their clapboard farmhouse, they would hear a strange knocking sound coming from the walls. Even stranger, the knocking seemed to respond to their questions. If your injured spirit manifests in 3 raps, inquired the girl's mother, knock, knock, knock. The well divided the spirit world and the living had been breached. So news of the Fox sisters' well-wrapping spirits spread around like wildfire. And remember, this is back in the 18. So for something to spread, only way they spread is by word of mouth and newspapers, because there is no other social media back in those days. Just newspapers, word of mouth, or maybe books. To the spiritual of New York, birthplace of the monism and the spiritual religious experience in which believers could receive specific guidance about their lives from the worst secret knowledge from the great beyond. But here we go. Now, why are they false? Eventually, the Fox sisters brought their hugely popular census to the New York City, drawing huge crowds. Their routine involved from simple knocking and rapping to conversations with deceased relatives and secret messages magically appearing on blank cards. So basically, it's like going to those spiritual places, crystal balls, and they're telling
like a card reader or something, gypsy reader or something.
Yeah, they're like gypsy readers. So they're like the first popularity of a stage show doing that. Now, despite their fame, or more likely because of it, the sisters suffered from troubled relationships, psychological breakdown, and alcoholism. In her 50s, Mackie delivered a public confession of their long-drawn hoax, which started as a harmless childhood prank. At bedtime, they would tie an apple on a string and move it up and down, causing the apple to bump on the floor. The sisters later developed the ability to manipulate their knuckles and toes to produce sound. Now, why this is intriguing to me is because Anthony told us, or maybe it was Rana and Anthony both told us about the fires in the sky story, where they were telling stories when they were kids about aliens and stuff, and then it became a reality for them. This sounds almost similar as that.
True. You're absolutely right, man.
So that's what's intriguing about that. Now, first of all, anybody's in the chat, have you guys even heard of the Fox sisters? Is there a real belief that these Fox sisters have the ability to talk to the dead? Now, first of all, let me ask you two guys something first. First of all the people you guys have talked to, you've interviewed on your shows and listened to, do you guys truly believe that there are people that have the abilities to talk to people? I do.
I do.
I think so.
So now they came out and admitted and said they faked it. Now, somebody probably will tell me, well, Eric, what if they're forced to come out and say to fake it because they're getting too popular? Or a scandal.
Maybe somebody from the news back then caught them or something, forced them to come out. What year was this? The 50s?
In this article here.
The 1950s?
I should be spreading it. 1848.
1848, sorry. Yeah, so back then, number one, it was against the church and the religion. It was heresy to have your fortune told or any of that stuff, right? So maybe, religious act after them to begin with for that stuff. Maybe the media got a hold, a reporter got a hold that, they were lying about it and they forced them to come out, I would say more or less the church probably put a lot of pressure on it.
Because Angel Wings wrote nope. Terry Brown wrote yes. And then Terry Brown wrote, oh, yes. Sure, I've heard of them. And then peace, love to everyone.
Welcome, Juan.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't really follow the Fox sisters, so I don't really know their full story. But
I never heard of them before.
What the Angel Rings write something about them? Well, technically, they're not dead. Laugh out loud. It's just energy. We don't die. Your body, your vessel, simply expired.
Well,
yeah. So basically, I mean, you can reframe it and say, do we believe that somebody can talk to the energy?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean,
Ron and I talked. We got the EVPs when we went out. We got the handprint. We got the full body apparition. So it's 100% possible, definitely. And then some people are more in tune than others, especially children. If you look at stories of children, it seems that children are more kinetically in tuned with that spirit realm more than adults. I think when you're children, they say that you're able to connect better for some reason.
What was the question? Oh, the question, Pam, was: do you believe that the Fox sisters could really talk to the dead, or since she admitted when she was 50, it was all a hoax? Like
or
I said,
do you believe that people can actually talk to the dead? Actually,
yeah. Oh yeah. That's the question I was asking you too. Do you really believe that people can talk to the dead? And I agree with you guys too. I think there are some people, but that's the hardest part, to know who's telling the truth and who's not.
That's the thing.
Because if they're able to hoax it just with with an apple, you could hoax a banana.
The banana.
I can make a banana disappear. I won't tell you how.
Yeah.
but
I bet you could.
but nowadays, there's way more things you can use Seven Apple to hoax things. That's the problem. That's That's where you got to do your research on each individual person, trying to find out their background.
Remember the movie Ghost? That Whoopi Goldberg had everything all rigged under the table to knock, and the candle to go on, and the noise and the things to rattle. And people really do that stuff,
Yeah,
they put on a good show.
In that movie, the Ouija board movie, they were hoaxing it until the real Ouija came out with some spirits, but they were hoaxing everybody too. So it does happen. It does go on. I mean, shoot, how many of those church tents had fake people in the crowd?
God.
I mean,
they're wearing earpieces, pretending they know your name and what your sickness is, and they really go all out, those evangelistic priests. And I'm sure some psychics do the same thing. I'm sure they got people staged in the audience, and then they pick on a staged person that's working for them, and your grandfather passed and yada yada yada. I'm sure that crap goes on too.
Now, I am definitely not going to read this one because we all know the Amityville Horror story. I mean, the Lust family who stayed in the house for 28 days.
Yeah, we just
we do know some facts that are true, that there was a killing in the house. So could that be a combination of to cause a haunting? Of course it can. But is the haunting to the point of what the Lutz family has said?
It's a beautiful house.
It is. It really is a beautiful house. I mean, it's truly beautiful. And of course, you could do 10,000 shows on this. If people say it's real, it's not real. I believe that the house myself is haunted to a certain level because of the kind of death that has happened there. Quick deaths. But to the point of what the Lutz have said, that's where I feel the exaggeration comes into play. And I feel when you exaggerate something, that's the lie.
The only, out of the whole Amityville Horror story, the only two things that stick out in my mind as true was when the priest went to the house to bless it, and he had that incident happen to him. And when Ed and Lorraine Warren went there to investigate, and they took the photograph of the upstairs hallway, and there was a little boy in the doorway that resembled one of the children that had gotten killed.
And that's probably because of the killing that happened previously, like you said. You know, minor, not saying minor, getting a picture of a boy, that's major. But think about it. If aggression killed this, the story goes that the son of the Defoe family killed them, that evilness is in that house. And I can see a priest feeling that evilness in that house. But the question is, at the level of what the Lutz family have said, because people who lived after the Lutz has never had that same level of experience as the Lutz family have said. Why? Does the ghost pick its prey? Does the ghost say, I like this family, but I don't like this family? I don't know. Maybe they do. I don't know.
I have the photo here. I'll pull it up for you. Of that little boy we were just talking about.
It's an awesome picture.
I mean, it really is. If it's really a real picture, I mean, check that out, man. Right above the banister there in the door, you see his head, the body, and everything. I mean, that's wild. And look at the photo of the ghost, and then look at the image of the boy that was killed. How closely those two resemble each other. It's pretty wild.
It really is.
Crazy.
Poor kid photo.
Did they investigate that photo?
Let me look for you, Ron.
Like, was that ever put through the ringer to see if it was real?
I'm gonna pull it up.
It says
I'm gonna pull it up again, but because I'm gonna try to pull it up bigger.
I'm going to read it here. It says the photo below was allegedly taken inside the Amityville Horror House in 1976. It has become one of the most famous paranormal photos of all time. It features what appears to be a young boy with white eyes who's peeking out of the doorway. George Lutz revealed the Amityville Ghost House boy photo on the Merv Griffin show back in 1979. 3 years after it was taken, the image was supposedly captured by Gene Campbell, a professional photographer who was part of the team that worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren on the paranormal investigation. Gene had set up an automatic camera that took infrared photos to capture the second floor landing during the night. Equipped with black and white film, his camera captured the Amityville Ghost Boy photo that some have speculated could be the ghost of the murdered child, John DeFeo, who had lived in the house with the prior Lutzes. Others believe that the image is that of Paul Bartz, an investigator working on the Warrens the night of the photo was taken. The white eyes could have occurred by infrared film. Dozens of websites have set out to prove or disprove the Amityville ghost photo, but most people have yet to be convinced one way or the other, allowing the infamous photo to continue.
That's
all that article says.
That photo was not faked at all. That's a good shape picture of a boy.
It looks like a kid.
You said it wasn't faked at all, Eric, right? Is that what you just said, that photo was not faked at all?
No, I'm saying if the photo is not fake at all, that is the king.
That's a full, but not even just full. It's solid. It looks like he has pajamas on, everything like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothers me on that is the eyes, and that's the reflection of the camera.
Yeah, it was infrared footage.
Yeah, and that's what gets me too, with the infrared, to grab it like that.
Now, the only thing at the end of this article says the Defoe own lawyer says he and Lutz made up most of the story after consuming several bottles of wine. Indeed, no one has lived in that house since then. It's still privately owned. In 2015, has reported any paranormal activities.
It did say that the camera, Ron, was on a timer to shoot every 30 seconds. It would take an image. It was on an automatic timer. But as far as real or fake, I haven't found any info yet.
Okay.
And I believe that the photographer that was working for the Warrens, was a cop also in Long Island. I remember that too. Not that that means anything, but I mean,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh, what did Pam say here? Eric, I don't think it's fake, but it's changed me every time I've seen it. Somehow, some way, it always looked different than the last time. Remember using? Yeah, I'm not saying that photo's fake. I said there is some ghost hauntings because listen, there was a murder that 5 people on the beds facing down with a gun, instant,
violent, graphic murder. Taken out. They was asleep when it happened. So just imagine your life stopping while you're asleep, and then you get up, you don't even know you're dead. Maybe you know what I mean.
You got a Mandela effect already happening in the chat with the kid, because I thought the same thing. What they're saying. See what they're saying? What Pam and Terry are saying right there.
I see Terry wrote Mandela effect.
But just above that, you'll see the 3 above that. That was them talking.
Okay, let me see here. The original, the Amityville Horror 1979 is a classic. Of course, that movie is a classic. Terry, it's just me, but every time I see this photo, it looks different somehow.
Maybe because the way they crop it. The original photo.
No, I seem to remember seeing the face coming from the right side of the doorway.
Take a look, because there's like 100 pictures of this here.
Oh yeah, it's hard. The Lutz were their head made up a story about the house being haunted to get out of paying mortgage. And Tommy, that could be it. But it's just weird that you can't pay mortgage only after 28 days you live there. That's the only weird part, because I would think, yeah, I know people can't pay mortgage sometimes, but usually it's after 6 months, I don't know, a year, but 28 days, that's a hell of a gamble to do on a book. So hopefully it sells. But I mean, you never know. It's a mystery. I know some mediums that I trusted have said they walked out, because you can't go into the house. They walked outside and they said they felt bad energy there. Yeah, and there was a death there. So, are they lying to me? I don't know. Here's another picture.
That one this is the actual shot. There's a lot of them that are cropped and changed around, but this is the actual image, how it should look to you. And then you got a bunch of them that are zoomed in and cropped that I know of. But as far as the face being a different angle, I haven't seen that. Not yet, anyway.
Tommy G wrote
exactly. The only problem I have with that is infrared, because that's what it does. Infrared, it bounces off anything that it could reflect off of, and off of a body. What would it reflect off of his eyes?
Oh wow! Look at that. Here you go, Tommy. Tommy's right. Now I just found an image where the face is the opposite way, and the only way that I know that can happen is it's going to be a small pic. I'm sorry about that, but go ahead, Eric. Now the only way. The only way I know you can do an image like that is sometimes in some like After Effects things, you can click the photo itself and it can flip. You can flip the photo the opposite way. So maybe it was one of those deals done. But I'll dig into it more for you, Tommy. But
that's what I remember right there of the picture.
He's right. There's the photo the opposite way.
What did Pam write? Eric, Tommy. I couldn't ever watch one if my favorite chats that cover this, you had to see it out.
I could never watch one of.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
My favorite chats that cover this, you had to set it out. I don't know what that means.
Now, guys, this is I remember this in the 90s of this one here of the Alien Autopsy. I remember watching the trailer for this, and I got the 11-second trailer. This trailer is only 11 seconds here, but I have it. Fox, Alien, Pacific. So, guys, this is 11 seconds. This is real quick.
Independence Day is just a movie. Now see evidence that may prove aliens exist.
What they saw was not from this world.
Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction, Sunday.
And that, to me, was like the birth of television, taking these stories and making them like events.
They spoke to, I know it's TV and everything, but they spoke to so many people that make puppets and stuff like that for movies. And they said the way that the skin peeled off that alien and the way the blood came down. In 95, I remember on a couple shows they were saying they couldn't recreate that. Now, I'm sure they could today, but I wonder if they really could back then.
Think about it. What did they have back then? What did we have? An SR-71 Blackbird that could fly 80,000 feet at Mach 3. I mean, I don't know, because you know what it is? I wasn't there, but I think it just looks fake.
It does.
It just looks fake.
There's got to be a way to put
it is fake, right?
There's got to be a way to put silicone on a skull and peel it off, right? With blood and stuff.
Yeah.
There had to have been.
But see here, in 1995, the Fox television network aired the special called Alien Autopsy Fact or Fiction, which became a surprise ratings bonanza and a pop culture phenomenon, capturing the topic of UFOs back into the national conversation. Back to the conversation. What they mean by that is UFOs always been there, but this kind of really brought it back. And capitalizing on the popularity of the cult hit The X-Files, brought 17 minutes of grainy footage from British TV producer Ray Stanley, claiming to record a secret U.S. military autopsy of the alien life form cover from a UFO crash site near Roswell, New Mexico. Now, first of all, the military stuff government will never allow a real alien autopsy to be on TV. It would be stopped from the beginning.
Hell no.
It would never. I mean, that would, it just won't. Let me see here if it says on the bottom, like, how do they know it's fake? Although most TV viewers immediately dismissed the footage as fake, the light memory flesh of the alien was hard to ignore. Producer Santilli vouches about that, saying, it's real. At least until 2006.
Yeah.
When Santilli began promoting a second alien autopsy film. This one is a mockumentary about the filming of the original. So in a press interview, Santilli confessed the truth that the original footage was irreparably damaged during transport from the U.S. to England, and that he hired a team of special effects artists and actors to restore the lost footage for the special good one, Ray. So basically, he's trying to make it up, saying, "Well, there is real footage, but since it was so damaged, we had to recreate it." Now, I heard that with some certain YouTube channels out there that have done that, and then they came out when they got caught, and they said, "Well, we had a replica." Remember the guy when you had Nikki on your channel, and she was interviewing that guy?
Oh yeah. You're about Rick Dyer. Rick
Dyer, and he was saying, "Well, some's damage. We had to recast it somewhat of it." I was like, it's like, wow. I don't know.
Well, just so you know, for later reference, if you ever want, I put a link there about the autopsy thing.
I just popped it up. I just got it right here. I saw it. I saw the little comment, and I'm gonna pop that up. Boom.
That looks so fake.
That was from Live Science.
And the thing is, when you're young, when you're seeing this stuff on TV, you're truly thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, wow." You don't realize if it was real, it would never be able to hit the airwave. If it hit the airwave in the first 10 seconds, it's gone.
But I give them a lot of credit because everything they used in that video was period. The phone in the room, the clock on the wall, the tools that they were using for the autopsy, the mask, the tin tray, and all of that. It was all period stuff. And you had a little black and white grainy effect over that. You got yourself a good fake video.
And then you can see the host of that video is the guy from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I forgot his name. He was first captain to Picard. He's the second-hand man. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Franks.
So to make the video even better, they get somebody who does sci-fi show to say, "Oh, so this got to be more real." Yeah. This is good stuff. So I'm going to put this link that Ron gave me. I'm going to put this link in the.
Can you make that a little smaller? The word.
Yeah.
Where did it go here?
Come in.
It said an actor actually posed as an FBI agent and swore the claim was true.
What? I'm just open the door. Oh, it's locked.
The alien autopsy hoax represented the culmination for several years' worth of rumors, myths, and outright deceptions perpetrating to prove that the saucer wreckage and the remains of its humanoid occupant were stored at a secret facility, Hangar 18 at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and that the small corpse were autopsied at there of another site. Among the hoaxes in 1949 science fiction movie, The Flying Saucer perpetrated to contain the scenes of a captured spacecraft where an actor actually posed as an FBI agent and swore the claim was true. See, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to things on TV and people they hire and actors. You got all these people coming on, who's a doctor, who's an FBI agent. They never show you their creds, though, the documents that say I was actually this or I was actually that. You just hear the story, nothing to ever back up the claim.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like.
Yeah, and I put the link of this in the chat if you guys want to open up yourself and read it, because we still got some more to go to here.
That's a lot to read.
Yeah.
Here we go. Now, okay, the Loch Ness Monster. We're not going to read the whole thing. Everybody knows this story. Oh, hold on a second. I think the dog wants out. Let me get the dog out of here.
Somebody ran like a log on a wire across the lake or something, and then he would pull it back and forth, and that thing would pop up.
Yeah, and they said that it was actually, when they did it, was actually like a piece of wood this big.
Yeah, right.
With perspective.
He had it like on a pulley system under the water.
Yeah, and, the Loch Ness Monster, that really is a belief system. It's probably, we don't live there. We don't know the water. We don't talk to the locals, but some say it's real. Some people say it's a log, like you're saying. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
If there was a plesiosaurus inside the loch, I'm sure there would have been some crystal clear photos of that thing by now. No,
you would think there'd be a lot more. My opinion, a lot more pictures than this one, because
if I did with sonar, everything.
Right, they did everything, side scan, sonar, you name it, and they didn't get a hit yet.
It's money. Bring money in.
Exactly. Hi, Lisa Gambino. Welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, we'll skip that one. Here we go. I do have a video.
This one I want to hear.
The case of the accidental time travel. So
echo one again, just so you know.
The echo's back.
It's got to be your mic, Eric.
But even when I turned the mic off, the echo was still there.
That's so strange.
I'm telling you, I think you have another tab or something open, another window of YouTube, something playing. That's this.
What if I do this? I'm going to actually physically kick myself out and read back in. So I'll be right back.
I'll start reading this.
Well, when I kick myself off, that might go away.
Let's see. We'll see. If it don't, I'll read. Okay, the case of the accidental time traveler. One night in 1950, a strange figure appeared. It did go with him. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties.
One night in 1950, a strange figure appeared in the middle of the traffic clogged intersection in New York City's famous Times Square. He wore a high silk hat, tight coat and vest, and boasted an admirable set of thick mutton chop sideburns. Yeah.
Did it go away?
I don't hear an echo myself.
I don't hear an echo now.
Okay, so I got the video, time travel on Times Square, time traveling incident.
Thanks,
But
Mike.
it was nice when you went away.
Yeah.
What?
Do it again.
When I was
Do
nice?
it again. Do it again.
Just so you know, I read the first paragraph, but when you bring it up, you.
Let's listen to this video. Let's hear about the time travel incident.
In 1950, a man with mutton chop sideburns and Victorian-era clothing popped up in Times Square. Witnesses said he looked startled, and then a minute later, he was hit by a car and killed. The officials at the morgue searching his body found the following items in his pockets: a copper token for a beer worth 5 cents, bearing the name of a saloon which was unknown even to older residents of the area. A bill for the care of a horse and the wash.
Is that such a bad echo?
Plugging headphones in just to see what happened. It sounds it's like coming from the speakers.
I wonder if it's Canva that's.
First, try to mute yourself while the video's playing.
I was muting it and I still heard it.
And I was muted, so I know for a fact.
Well, hold on. Let me. I'm gonna hold
Shut all
on.
your tabs except for this one.
Yeah, I had no tab. Actually, I'm gonna play the actual real video that's not Canva. See what happens.
That could be it. That you're going through Canva.
It could be. Let me see here. Time travel on Times Square. This is the actual video. Let's see what it sounds like.
Okay.
In 1950, a man with mutton chop sideburns and Victorian-era clothing popped up in Times Square. Witnesses said he looked startled, and then a minute later, he was hit by a car and killed. The officials at the morgue searching his body found the following items in his pockets: a copper token for a beer worth 5 cents, bearing the name of a saloon which was unknown even to older residents of the area. A bill for the care of a horse and the washing of a carriage drawn by a livery stable on Lexington Avenue that was not listed in any address book. About $70 in old banknotes, business cards with the name Rudolph Fens and an address on Fifth Avenue. And finally, a letter sent from a Philadelphia address dated June 1876. None of these objects showed any signs of aging. Captain Hubert V. Rim of the NYPD's Missing Persons Department tried using this information to identify the man. He found that the address on Fifth Avenue was part of a business. Its current owner did not know Rudolph Fens. Fens's name was not listed in the address book, his fingerprints were not recorded anywhere, and no one had reported him missing. Rim continued the investigation and finally found a Rudolph Fens Jr. in a telephone book from 1939. Rim spoke to the residents of the apartment building where Fens Jr. had lived, and they described him as a man of about 60 years who had worked nearby. After his retirement, he moved to an unknown location in 1940. Contacting the bank, Rim was told that Fens Jr. died 5 years before, but his widow was still alive and lived in Florida. Rim contacted her and learned that her husband's father had disappeared in 1876, aged 29. He had left the house for an evening walk and never returned. The story was published a number of times in the 70s and 80s as fact, until 2000, after the Spanish magazine Masala published a representation of the events as a factual report. Folklore researcher Chris Aubeck investigated the description to check the veracity. His research led to the conclusion that the people and events of the story were all fictional, and wasn't able to find the story's original source. Pastor George Murphy claimed in 2002 that the original source was from either a 1952 Robert Heinlein science fiction anthology entitled Tomorrow, the Stars, or a September 1951 publication in Collier's magazine titled I'm Scared, and authored by renowned science fiction writer Jack Finney. With the facts at hand, it appeared the story was nothing more than published entertainment. So everyone thought. No copies of the story have ever been found, and Finney died before he could be questioned. In 2007, a researcher working for the Berlin News Archive found a newspaper story from April 1951 reporting the Fens incident. This newspaper archive was printed some 5 months before either Heinlein or Finney released their work. What's even more compelling, a number of researchers have claimed to have found evidence of the real 29-year-old Rudolf Fens and proof of his disappearance in 1876.
I guess Conva is what's causing the echo. So that's good to know. I mean, it's good to know. I might have to experiment more on why that is. But there's a couple questions that I saw in the chat. I know Lisa wrote earlier, do we believe in time travel? I mean, that is such a great question, because you would think if time travel is possible, the whole planet be all changed and screw up, and because the power of time traveling, what you're able to do with it, and I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, Ron's the science guy. Scientifically, Ron, can time travel be possible scientifically?
I mean, I think yes, but I think it's like only one way.
You're not supposed to go back in time, right?
Relativity, because of general relativity. That's why. I haven't. I mean, I heard stories of it. I don't know if that could. I mean, if you say like time traveling of being able to jump back and forth and going from 1800 to 1900 and going back to 1700 like that, I don't know how that's possible.
I look at it this way, right? I don't think you can go back in time, because if you jump through time and you change something, then the timeline that you were initially were on wouldn't be the same, allegedly, right? So maybe you can only jump forward, but I don't know about jumping back and doing anything, because you would change the timeline.
I know it's weird. You think if time travel is possible,
it's like one of those crazy questions we're going to talk about tonight on Ron's channel.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Donovan or Eric, does the view count go down when you cover hoaxing? That's a good question. I don't know. I'm covering the hoaxing what the media has said. Now, let's go back to that article to see why that story's fake. Okay. The true origin of Fence legend was a short story published in Colors magazine in 1951 by science fiction writer Jack Finney. The tale was republished in a paranormal journal 2 years later without attribution to Finney and presented as fact. From there, the case of accidental time travel took on a life of its own. So according to this, it says a science fiction magazine, a paranormal journal, took the story and that took the name Fence out, who wrote it. And I guess the story took on its own. So, I mean,
like Angel Wing said, all these stories have to come from somewhere. She said it earlier.
Yeah. Well, it's like the old saying, how many stories have we heard? Listen, the Mary Island incident, the story, the guy goes, I was forced to say it was a lie by the Men in Black. If they found out that time travel was possible, they can't have people know that it's real. Maybe there was force. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a good one, right? It's
time travel to be possible, you would have to go faster than the speed of light, though, no?
It's the thing about time travel. There's just so many different theories out there.
Basically, yeah. Because again, the theory of the relativity, like you would have to do that because to get ahead, you have to. Because remember, everything moves at the same rate, like that, no matter what. And I just don't see it. Like now, if it was a wormhole kind of a thing, that that's possible. You know what I mean? But is that time traveling? It's more because the wormhole theory, right? Like the wormhole theory is this. And you've seen this probably a million times.
Through.
And see this, Eric?
What?
Eric, see this?
Let me pop it up. Okay.
All right. So if you're here, A, and you want to get to B, and if it takes so long to go there, right? Like it takes that. So the wormhole theory is going like this. Punching through like that.
Right.
That's the wormhole theory. It knocks out all this in the middle, that whole line, like that. That's the wormhole theory, like that. That's how you could get there almost like that.
Theoretically, it's feasible, but who knows if we accomplish that yet? That's the thing. We got to get somebody like
Michio. Said it was even possible like that.
We got to get Michio Kaku on here or somebody like that to have this discussion with us. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll email him. See
I do want to say, Donald Fuller, I do agree with you. People want to hear absolute BS in the Bigfoot subject rather than any kind of scientific research. It's sad to me. You're right. People have such a hatred for science. They want to dispose all science, and you can't do that. Now, because
facts be damned. Facts be damned.
Yeah,
like
nobody wants to see the data.
I believe this. That's it. That's all that matters.
Right.
Yeah, and we
nobody
know
wants to see data anymore.
Not all science is wrong, but I do agree. People want to hear BS more than science part of it. That is true. That is a true statement. Now that let's move on to crop circles. Now, of course, a 1980s series increasingly patterns emerge. Listen, crop circles did get more popularity in the 80s and above. That's because there's more television, more networks, more coverage. You know, and I'm not going to read the whole thing about crop circles because some are hoax, but some of these crop circles that you've seen, I mean, you ask yourself, if it was a hoax, how the hell can they do that in a short time? Or another thing, what was it here? Hold on. He said it wasn't until 1991 that Bauer and Coley confessed their role in the artistic hoax.
Those are the two that were making the crop circles. They try to take credit for the crop circles all over the world. But that got debunked. They did make a lot of crop circles, but they couldn't account for every single crop circle that was ever made.
No, they couldn't. There's no way they could count for every single one. I mean, that's just, you know, crop circles is one of those things. It's a belief system. But to me, there's just so many crop circles. There's so many just shapes and stuff. And you ask yourself, if that was done by a human, how the hell can they do some of those? Now, I guess anything's possible, right? I guess. Ron, do you believe in crop circles?
Actually, there's some of them that I did because the complexity of some of these things and how they're perfectly even, and I mean like mathematically perfect. Like it's just like, let's just say 12 feet here and exactly, it's just perfect. And in the span of for a night, 4 hours, 5 hours to do that like if people are doing that, oh, they should have their own show and everything because they'll be rich because that's not easy, man.
Yeah. And there's even some footage of crop circles under the ocean. I mean, it's
not only that, the crop circles that I believe are real are the ones where when the grass is pushed down and they study the grass, the nodes on the grass, they grew so many inches overnight. You know, it's different from the surrounding area. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Those are the interesting cases on the grass that the nodes grew longer.
And it's not even snapped.
Right.
It's like a bend over and it grew and it's bent. It's just weird.
And then there's the second part of that. So if you believe that humans not doing all crop circles, the other theory is it them from another planet causing a ray to do symbols for us? Is it an alien ship landing there? You know, what if it's not human? How are those crop circles being made? I mean, that's the second part of the question. How are they being made? Is it from a ship? Is it from them making a message to us?
Well, Something has to be making them. Let's say if it's not humans, if it's not humans doing it, there has to be a machine or something making them, right? How they make them, I don't know. I mean, I know that's not like some great answer, but it's the obvious one, right? Like, I don't freaking know. And because you got to remember, if they're making these crop circles, remember, some of them have faces and everything. It's like if they have a template that they can just heat up something or whatever and just form that.
Yeah.
Find trace amounts of radiation all over the crop some places. That's an interesting one right there, the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah, we'll go some of these fast. It's getting closer to our part. The Fiji mermaid, the ultra infamous phrase, the sucker born every minute, but certainly lived it. Venom, perhaps the best known Victorian huckster. One of the Berners' earliest sensation was so-called the Fiji mermaid, purported to be preserved as remains of a real-life mermaid captured in the Bay of Bengal in 1842. But down here it says the museum staff tracked down the true origin of the Shroud 16-inch creatures, which is not simply a monkey. It's not simply a monkey's head stitched to a fish body. As many as speculated, it turned out to be a souvenir handcrafted, made by a Southeast Asian fisherman and sold to tourists as a little mermaid. So I'm not going to go into this story, but the Fiji mermaid is apparently done by, if you believe the story, is done by a sailor to make money, which I can see that, back in those days. Anything that's caused a controversy will save money. But let's just skip down to the Salem Witches. The Salem Witches trials of 1692 represent one of the darkest chapters in the history of the New World, when the false accusation of a handful of teenage girls led to the execution of 20 men and women and the death of 7 others in prison on charges of witchcraft. I mean, if you look at the history of witchcraft, a lot of people were claimed to be witches and they were hanged, burned. I mean, horrible, horrible. And I was thinking to myself, man, it's just a sad time to live in, because I'm not saying a lot of men are bad people. There's a lot of bad men. If a bad man did something to a woman, gets caught by the wife, she put a spell on me, and they'll get hanged just for that. A lot of women could not even stand up for. I mean, they try to stand up for themselves, but men in religion suits and stuff don't let the women talk. And a lot of women got killed and burnt for doing nothing. It's a sad time for not just in America, all around the world. To hang someone, all you got to do is claim that they're a witch, warlock, devil, or something, and they'll be tortured and hanged for the wrong reasons. It's sad. It's very sad. It
was crazy back then, man.
It was crazy back then. I mean, religion rules so much.
Oh, yeah.
Religion rules so much. You could justify every action with religion. It's sad.
If it wasn't supposed to be, it was heresy. I mean, no matter what you were doing was heresy back then.
Yeah.
Burn you at the stake.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great ministers and priests out there that does it for the love. But there were some that are afraid of their power be taken away. And they feel that a woman's going to threaten their throne. All you got to do is say they're a witch.
Look how far the church has come, Eric. We have the Vatican studying UFOs today. You have priests studying paranormal today. You got that famous archbishop that worked with Ghost Adventures. They have demonologists and all this cool stuff today. Back in the day, back then, this time, when the Salem witch trials were around in the 17th century, you would have never heard any talk of that priest work.
Remember Galileo, too.
He was burned at the stake.
No. He that's a thing that a lot of people believe that because of what was written in books. He actually was sentenced to that for heresy, but then it was commuted to house arrest.
Oh, that's right.
And he died like in his house, I think in 16. I can't remember the date, but
house arrest.
Galileo like that because of.
But still, we're talking about Galileo, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we got 2 left, And it sounds like Anthony knows something about this one.
Sure, this is the Shroud of Turin.
The Shroud of Turin. Many faithful believers exact the Shroud of Turin as the very same clean linen cloth in which the crucified Jesus Christ was wrapped before rising on the third day from his tomb. And just tell us a little bit about it, and we'll go to the bottom why it's a hoax.
Sure.
Tell us about it.
They found this was a hoax? When was that?
Well, not a hoax, but, well, on the bottom says, carbon dating has never successfully linked the fibers of the cloth to the time of Christ. Although Italian scientists published a new theory in 2014, apparently a powerful earthquake in 33 CE could have released enough radioactive emissions to not only imprint the image of Christ on the cloth, but alter the molecular structure of its fiber in such a way as to produce incorrect carbon data result.
I don't know about that, because then you got to ask yourself, how come every other body that was wrapped in a shroud from back then didn't have the same image project on it? You know what I mean? The Shroud of Turin was alleged to believe that it was the shroud that Jesus Christ's actual body was wrapped in when he went into the tomb, when he was crucified. The strange thing about it is when they peeled the shroud off, it's burned with the likeness of Jesus Christ on the actual shroud, front and back. So the back of the body, the front of the body. And when you look at the image of the shroud, it looks exactly like the image we know of Jesus on the cross.
I'm pulling it up now.
It's amazing. The Vatican recently indoctrinated as a holy shroud. Look, it has the crown of thorns with the blood, the face. I mean, the whole 9 yards. And they believe the intense light and heat that traveled through it was like an X-ray. So it's like an X-ray photo on that cloth. And
that's like what happens with like an atom bomb goes off.
Exactly right.
You actually see people evaporated and see a shadow on the ground of them.
Exactly.
Well, Ron, you're my science kind of guy. That part of that article says, what do you believe? Tell us, what do you believe of that? Is it real to you, or you think that's nonsense?
I mean, I always say, and it always sounds like a cop-out answer when I say anything's possible. Like,
that is true.
It wasn't there, but like, why not? If that's what happened, right? Everything that's written in the Bible, and that he died and he rose 3 days later, and with of light coming, is why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
just don't know, and I'm not going to say because and like, I'm Catholic. I was baptized, but I'm not a practicing Catholic. Like, I'm not going to church every Sunday. Like, I'll still say, "Oh, forgive me, God," or something like. It's just we grow up like that, but I just don't know. I mean, there's some people that say absolutely because it's their faith.
Well, not only that. All bodies back then were wrapped in shrouds, okay? The people that practiced their, Jews, their bodies were wrapped in shrouds and put in tombs and things like that back then. How come no other bodies have that image on it?
Didn't even have the blood, like the mark from when they stuck him in the like rib side.
The rib, yeah. You gotta. Is there the full image of this? Because you even have that too. Where
I remember seeing something like that.
Where the spirit destiny struck him in the rib cage.
Go down a little bit. I think that's
there as well. There it is. So you got the wrists. See the top of the wrist where he was crucified. The nail spike went through his wrist is there, and then if you go up on the top right, top left on our side, you have the blood stain right there on the rib cage as well. And then the crown of thorns on his head, all the blood marks and scars on there as well. And go to the feet, right above the fold on the top of the foot is the same thing where the spike went through to pin his feet together. Is another blood stain.
And they carbon dated it. How old was it?
It was in there, 33.
We'll go back to the article. It might say in there.
That's crazy, man.
33 AD or whatever.
Because the thing is, like what we were saying, from the light and that
33 CE. Oh no, that's when the earthquake was. I'll tell you right now, Ron. Let me look it up.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's two ways to look at it too. I mean, Jesus was a real man. Now, was he really the Son of God? Who knows? Was he really that power? That's another whole conversation its own. So saying that's the cloth of a man, there's no, you know.
It says here, the image of the face reveals a beard, mustache, shoulder-length hair, parted in the middle. The man in the shroud appears muscular with estimates height range from 5'7" to 6'2". Additional detail revealed by close examination. Negatives of imaging are coins over the man's eyes, which they did back in the day for the ferrymen to take you to the other side. They put 2 silver coins over your eyes. Scientific investigation of the image began earnest series of photographs taken in 1898. All right, where's the actual carbon date, though? That's what I'm looking for.
Oh. Now, while he looks at that, the last one that's number 1 on this thing is the Cardiff Giant. The Cardiff Giant. And I do have a video for this one, so let me...
1260 to 1390 was the year. It's believed to be.
Yeah, I just read that. That's when it was from.
Let me see here.
So how can that be? I'm just saying, if that's where it carbon dated back to, like I'm just saying, shouldn't it be right between BC and AD? That's right there, right? When he died?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Yeah. Well, here's a video of the Cardiff Giant.
It's kind of amazing when you think of all of the hoaxes that people have fallen for. Fairies, balloon boys, alien autopsies, giant cats, women who give birth to rabbits. It's almost like we're hardwired to believe in the unbelievable.
33 AD,
this is
Ron.
why in 1869, a purported giant found buried in Cardiff, New York, took the country by storm. Tobacco farmer George Hull was visiting his sister when he got in an argument with a clergyman. Hull, who was an atheist, found it absurd that the clergyman believed the giants once walked the earth as claimed in the book of Genesis. Are people really that easy to fool? He thought to himself and devised a plan. Hull hired a group of men to carve out an enormous 12 by 4 by 2 foot block of gypsum in Fort Dodge, Iowa. He shipped the block to Chicago, where a stonecutter carved the block into the shape of a resting man. He took the giant to Cardiff, New York, where his cousin, William C. Newell, had a farm. They buried the giant in November of 1868 and waited for a year before putting their plan into motion. On October 16th, Newell hired 2 neighbors to dig a well on his farm on the precise spot where the giant was buried. They found it while they were digging, of course, and it was carefully exhumed. News of the giant quickly spread and people flocked to see it. Some preachers and theologians even saw it as proof that the giants mentioned in the Bible were real. Geologists were quick to call it a fake, but that didn't stop Newell from charging people 50 cents to see it. Newell eventually sold his part interest to a group of Syracuse businessmen for $23,000. The giant was then exhibited around the country to great fanfare, and it eventually caught the interest of P.T. Barnum. Barnum offered them $50,000 for the giant, but they refused to sell it. So, in true P.T. Barnum fashion, he had his own version of the giant built. But Barnum told spectators in New York that his giant was real, and that the original giant was a replica. David Hannum, one of the owners of the original giant, was furious. He was quoted as saying, "There's a sucker born every minute." Hannum sued Barnum, but both giants were eventually found to be fakes in court. The saga of the Cardiff Giant was over. Today, the original giant is on display at the Farmers Museum in Cooperstown, New York. Barnum's replica can be found resting at Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum in Farmington Hills.
I'm just going to stop it there just in case they suspend it for that. But there we go. I mean, you know,
they that thing, man.
Yeah, and they planned it from a year out. I mean, they really went for it and think about it, because that's where the money was, in the circus.
Yeah.
Now for us, modern day, the money's in the cons. There's a lot of cons. So more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Very true, bro.
Yep.
So, and guys, again, people in the chat who's watching this, we're not saying all these are 100% true hoax, but these are what the media are saying. But at the end of the day, it's up to you, and you should always do any research of any one of these top 10. And I'm going to put the top 10 link back in the chat. You guys want to look at it yourselves. And seriously, research it yourself with one of these. You know, is it the Fox sisters? Research that. Research the cloth of the Jesus Christ thing.
Shroud of Turin.
You know, look into it. See, and come up with your own thing saying, nah, that's not a hoax. I think that's real. I think people are just trying to say it's a hoax because they don't want nobody else to look into it. I mean, you never know. There's so many stories that Men in Black, government stopped to you and said, no, you need to change your story. There's those. So now some of these are direct hoaxes and this probably don't really need research. I think that giant is the one of the most perfect hoaxes of all time. It takes time to do it, you know. But even the Amityville Horror House, even if you think the Lutz were lying about they saw, there are ghosts that probably was created from the killings in it. It's just how far will they take something small and make it huge?
True.
I always said exaggeration is just the same as lying, but there are origins. Now, look, the giant story came from the Bible. A lot of people say the Bible is 100% true, so that's a good hoax to do from. Because, like, look, it even says in the Bible that there were giants. That can help sell things, especially nowadays. A little different now. It's proven that religion has been falling off every year. Less people are going to church. But back in those days, everybody almost went to church. And if it's in the Bible, you can sell it. You can sell it. So we got to end this soon because I got to take a cat to a doctor. But what do we got coming up? Ron, what do you got coming up today? You got something cool coming up today, aren't you?
Yeah, it's 7 o'clock. Got the weekend warm-up. I don't have it pulled up.
I'm pulling it up.
Weekend warm-up is at 7 p.m. Let me try to find it. Hold on.
I got it right here. Cosmic Neighbors. And what I'm going to do this time, guys, I'm actually going to go right here and put the real link and not the StreamYard link.
You're notorious for that.
That was a hoax. There it is. That's the link. Where did it all begin? Where did it all begin?
Yeah,
4 p.m. West Coast time, 7 Eastern time.
You're gonna be stuttering tonight because this is everybody bring Advil tonight because you're gonna be leaving with a migraine. Very hard question.
The cat's fine, Lisa. We're just getting a checkup because we want to get the cat fixed. So, cat's just doing his normal checkup. So, and then Sunday. Then of course Sunday you have.
Wait, it's just a like a normal like just checkup. There's nothing wrong, right?
Well, to get your, the cat neutered, you have to go through a checkup first. So it's a process before they get the cat neutered. You know, they got to make sure the cat's fine.
There's no infections in that, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and trust me, this cat is 100% fine.
They take blood, urine, then they let you know they can do the operation.
And then on Sunday, we got Unidentified S4 Anthony talking about the pyramids.
Ancient aliens or ancient Egyptians. This is going to be an all-star panel Sunday. We got Eric, myself, Ron, Jim Goodall, and Buck from Buck the System podcast. So it's going to be a really good show. I think with all these brilliant minds there, we'll get some good answers.
And beyond that, people, remember, again, we're not saying none of these stories are true hoax because most of these stories, we weren't even born. We weren't even there. How would we know? But it's fun to research some of this stuff, people. It's fun. So take that link I put in the chat take a look, and I'll put the link in the description too, where this article comes from, so you guys can do your own research. Beyond that,
real quick, last night late, I dropped the video from Russia. Now, I don't know how real it is yet, but it's been all over the news now about the Russians shooting down an alleged orb UFO. So the newsreel is on there, along with the guy's footage that he took of the missile hitting the alleged UFO. It's up on my channel on the video section. If you guys want to check that out and let me know what you think, I'd appreciate it. And Sunday, Donald, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time will be on, all of us.
And she wants to say hello to everybody.
Hey, puppy.
She wants to say hello, and she said that she's not going to be going to the vet. She has to stay home. She has to stay home.
We heard you snoring.
She's like, but beyond that, everybody, have a great weekend.
Take care.